Welcome to another video from DIY Daily. We've got a full step-by-step guide tonight showing you how to fit a new timing belt on this Daihatsu Fourtrak F78 model. It's a 2.8 turbo diesel. Just before we get started, I'll just show you we're fitting a new Gates belt tonight. And if you check the description below at any point, I'll put links to part numbers for the new belt, where you can get them from, and links to all the tools that are used as well. Just before we get into the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, just click on the red subscribe button below to make sure you don't miss out on any future content. All we're going to do to start with, cam belt situated just at the front here. We've got a few bits in the way first. It's a fairly straightforward job though. I've just got it over the ramp, but you don't need it on the ramp. I've just pulled it in here, that's all. But to start with, we're just going to take this cover off the top. You can see we've just got some 10mm bolts holding this on. A couple across there, and then just where it connects to that pipe, I'll just take it off at the airbox there as well. We're just going to get that off, and then there's a couple of bolts holding the header tank bottle here as well. We'll get them off, that can pull out of the way. And once we've done that, we'll be able to get the fan cowling out and the fan off. But just to start with, we'll just take these two bits off, and then we'll show you what we've got to do next. Right, so we've now got the header tank out of the way as well. It's just 3 10mm bolts holding that on, and all we've got to do is just pull the pipe off the top of the rad there as well. So next step now, we're just going to remove this fan cowling off the top. There's just another 2 10mm bolts, one at that side and another one just there on that side as well. If we undo them and get this cowling out of the way, then we're going to need to remove the viscous fan here. The viscous fan's just held on with all these little 12mm nuts. So we're going to crack them off and take the fan out of the way as well. So I'll just put another link in the video to these viscous fans are quite prone to seizing up inside and causes them to overheat. If you have your truck and it's not been used for towing, or it's not been stressed under load at all, you don't use it and they tend to seize up. So I'll put a link in the description below, or you can click it above at the minute, and that'll just show you quickly how to get these off as well. So now to free them up. But to crack them off, you can either nip the belt really tight and just turn in with a spanner, or you might need a big pair of grips on the just on the pulley here to hold it, because obviously while you're trying to undo it, it'll turn it. We'll get this cowling out of the way next, and then I'll show you how I got them nuts off. So we've got the viscous fan and the cowling out of the way now, which gives us quite a bit more room. The cowling's a little bit tight to get out, it's not too bad, but you can make it a lot easier if you just wanted to take this air hose off here, and there's only a hose clip there. Just does make it a little bit easier to get it out. The next step we're going to do now, we just need to take the 2 auxiliary belts off. So we've got this top one here, which is running the alternator, and then the bottom one there as well. So but I'll just we'll get these off and then I'll run you through doing it. But basically, the adjuster for the top one is on this. You need to slacken this top nut off at the back there. There's a bolt down the bottom underneath it, and then on the bottom pulley there, I'll get a torch and then I'll just get these slackened off, and then I'll show you how to do them after that. So. Got them slackened off now, ready to take the bolts off. All you need to do, the one on the back here is a 12mm. We can just slacken that off. And there is at the bottom, there's a 14mm headed bolt there, nut on the back, but it's mega tight on this and we can't crack it off. What you'd normally do is just slacken that off just to make it a bit easier to move the alternator, but normally you can, and it's what we've had to do on this one. We've just used a big bar, and all I've done is just jar it in against the body there, and then you can just simply, with a bit of load on it, you can pull it towards the engine side, which has slid it along there, and that puts loads of slack on the belt, so we can then get the belt off as well. And then on this other pulley, you need to, there's two bolts here, 14mm there, slacken that one off, and this one's a 13. You might find that might be a 12 on, I think someone's changed the bolt on that one in the past. But now that that's slackened off and that's slackened off, you can just simply move that pulley and just slide that. Just try to show you. Pull the belt up there, and that just slides that up to take the slack off, so we can then get that belt off as well. When you're refitting it, you just need to use a bar to lever this across, get this belt quite tight, and then nip it, and then nip the two bolts up and lock it in the position. But I'll show you that when we're refitting everything. But for now, we'll just pull these belts off and then get to the next step. Obviously, if you're doing your cam belt, it's an ideal time to fit some new belts, but these are not in bad condition really, so we're going to refit them tonight. Now that that's off, the next job we're going to do, the main timing belt is under this plastic casing here, but next step we're going to need to take this bottom pulley off just down there. So it does split into two pieces, but we're just going to take it all off as one big piece. But I'll just show you in the centre there. There's 6 12mm bolts around the outside, and there's a big 24mm bolt through the centre. We need the whole lot off, so we're just going to take the actual 24mm bolt out. Now it will try and turn the engine over as you're undoing it, so what I'm going to do is just put it in gear, put it into 4th gear, and get someone to stand on the brake and press the pedal as hard as they can, and I'll use this 24mm socket on a bar, and that should lock the engine enough to crack it off and get the nut out and the pulley off. So we'll just try that now. Yeah, so with the foot on the brake pedal and in gear, that was just enough to crack it off. So it gets quite tight. I'm just left with the pulley on. I'm just going to give that a little tap with a hammer. That should knock it in. That's the pulley out now. It's a little bit tighter than they normally are, but what basically happens, obviously you've undone the nut. They've got a little keyway in there that runs on the key, obviously the keyway and the crankshaft guides into there. They just get really tight on the shaft. Obviously they've been sat on there a long time, so all we had was a bar reaching down the side. Just give it a bit of a tap with a hammer, and eventually just cracked it off, and it just guided it off. So I did just give it a bit of a spray around there with some WD-40 as well. So now that that's off, you can start to see a bit more under here. Basically we're going to get all the cam belt cover bolts off now. So there's quite a lot of these sort of 12mm all the way around. It's probably, I'll just get them off, there's a good 10 bolts around there. So we'll just whip all them out now, and then we'll show you then we'll be able to see the cam belt. So that's the main cam belt cover off. You can just see it's bolts all around the top there, but the two bottom ones are just two nuts on it, so they're all the 12mm. Now that's off, we can see the cam belt. It looks like it's had one before, someone's put a paint mark on there, but we're just going to turn it round now. All I'm going to do is put that 24mm bolt back into the centre of the crank pulley, so that we can use that to turn the engine over, and we're going to line it all up. Basically just need to line the crank up, the fuel pump and the cam. So but we'll just get that into the timing position, and then I'll show you where it is that you want to be. Right, I just forgot to mention before we turn it over, I'll just show you, there's this little spacer. You can just pull that off, but you've got to line it up with the keyway. You can just see there's a little groove in there where it slides on the keyway, but you can just put that aside for now. We'll turn it over. We'll just try and show you the marks before we line them up. Where it's been fitted before, someone's paint marked on the actual grooves, but there's a little arrow, so you can just see it like on the metal casing where it just sort of points down. That's the timing mark for this wheel here. And then there's a little dot on the actual, see someone's paint marked over it, but there is actually a little indented dot on the wheel there. And then on this side it's pretty much the same. I'll show you, going down up the top there, there's another point there, and again another dot on the actual cam wheel there. And on the bottom pulley, on the main crank pulley, there is a dot on the, just see that dot there on the crank pulley, and then there's the timing mark for that. It's just coming up underneath there. There's another little sort of point there as well. So, but I'll just turn all these into position, and I'll show you when it's timed up in the right place. Might take you a few turns around just to get it all lined up together. Just turn that into position there. You can just see now on this top wheel here, a bit sort of trying to get it, just show you, it's just a bit tricky to show you looking dead square on with a camera, but basically as you're looking square at that little circle there, it's in line with a point at the back there on that pulley. Same again there on that pulley, and then if you come down to the crank pulley, just see the little hole in that gear wheel there. It's just lining up with that little point at the back there as well. So that's the official timing marks. Once you've lined all them three up, then you can just simply come to the next step, which is we need to loosen off these two 12mm. This is the tensioner with the blue centre there. Trying a bit tricky trying to hold my camera down, but there's one 12mm that side and another 12mm that side. So we're going to basically slacken both of them off, and the tension will come off the pulley wheel, and then we'll be able to remove the belt. Obviously if you're changing the tensioner, you just have to take them right out, and then we'll run you through when retightening it up as well and the torque settings, but I'll just slacken them off quick and we'll get the belt off. Yeah, so that's the timing belt off. Just quite clearly see the keyway in the bottom pulley as well there now. You just need to make sure that does stay in, don't fall out. So obviously that's quite crucial to holding your pulley in place there. So. But yeah, we'll get the belt off. Just need to make sure all your pulleys are still in the same place as well. While it's like this, it's quite easy to line up where your hole was there. All you can do is following that line there and just making sure it lines up with your lug. You can see it again there on both sides. This one's slightly moved, that's also. I'll just slightly turn that back just to line that up bang on with the mark there. And all we're going to do next, we'll just get the new cam belt situated on now, and then I'll run you through just putting some load on the tensioner and nipping that back up. But if you just look down just where the tensioner is there, you'll just see, just down there to the bottom corner, that's where you can fit an Allen key in it, and that's what you're going to use to put some load on the belt. So once the belt's on, we'll just put an Allen key in there and just turn it, and that'll put the load on the belt, and then we can nip it up. So the torque settings for these two 12mm bolts are 10 Newton meters. I'll just do that. And when fitting a new cam belt, sometimes they have arrows on them. If they don't, You want to be just fitting them so that the reading is reading the direction that the engine's turning over. So I'll be fitting this in this position here. And some cam belts actually have timing marks on them. You can see this has got one white strip there, and it's got another 2 on it as well. So these I'll just check and I'll let you know in a minute, but these marks might actually correspond. They do on some models, not on others, so they might actually correspond to the to where the marks are on the pulleys there as well. So just get the belt fitted into place, and then we'll show you tensioning it up. Right, so the belt's all on there. It's a bit tricky to show you fitting that on the camera, just because it's obviously it's just down in the bottom there a little bit. But basically, you just need to loop it around, sort of pulley by pulley, quite tightly. And you just want to keep it around this wheel here and the crank quite taut. You don't really want a lot. You need to make sure there's not too much slack there, and leave the slack on this bit here. So that's obviously where when you put the load on the tensioner. That's the idea of the tensioner, it takes the slack up. So always leave this section here of the slackest bit and keep it quite taut between all the other bits. Next job, just going to get the Allen key, and then we'll just put some tension on that and knit the 2 bolts to 10 Newton meters. We're going to be using a digital torque wrench tonight. You don't need to use a digital one, just any old torque wrench will do. If you haven't got one, just wants to be quite a light nip really, 10 Newton meters is not a lot. So, but if you check out links in the description below, I'll put a link to one of the digital ones as well. So quite a nice bit of kit. So I've got an 8mm Allen key, and I've got it on a socket. Just makes it a bit easier because they're sort of reaching in at the back of the tensioner. It's a little bit tricky to do it without with just a normal Allen key. So this will just make it a bit easier for us, and just to hold the tension on as well. So once that's in there, you turn your ratchet anti-clockwise, and you'll just see it just pull the tension across there. So now we're going to put some tension on the belt. It doesn't need to be mega, it's just so it has it nice and taut really, and you can just see it pulls up the loads there. So and all I'm going to do is, while holding that on, I'm just going to nip them 2 tensioner bolts up. I'll just do that quick now. Get on him. Now that both bolts are nipped up, you can just take your little Allen key out. Just before we do any more, just check your marks again, just make sure they're lined up. Quite happy with them, all lined up again. So on there. And now the next step, just a sort of double check process really. What we're going to do now is just turn the engine over. You want 2 full turns of the crankshaft, and then once you've done 2 full turns, the bottom one should line up and the top 2 will line up as well. If you only do 1 turn, the bottom will be lined up but the tops will be 180 degrees out. So we'll just turn that over twice now and just recheck that. You can just see now at that point there that we've got that holes nicely lined up with that arrow there. Same with that one, and then just coming down the bottom there, that's holding the camera at the right angle. That little hole's lined up bang on as well. So we know that's all timed up, it's not going to cause any damage. all we're going to do now is we're just going to pull this, undo the 24mm nut out the bottom again. Just got to make sure to refit this ring, so you've got to put that on. Once it's gone past the keyway and it's butted up, it will just spin there. It's just a spacer, so it's okay like that. And the torque setting for this bottom bolt's 200 Newton meters. I'll just double check, but I'll write that on the screen in a minute as well. So but yeah, once we've done that, it's just a case of putting that back on, putting the cover on, putting the crank pulley on, torquing it up. We'll just run you through nipping the two belts up as well, and just roughly how tight we want to be when we get to that stage. But we'll just start building it back up for now, and go from there. Just to crack it off again, you might find it's a little bit tight, and you might just need someone again to put it in gear and put your foot on the brake, and it'll just allow you to undo this bottom bolt there, that's all. Pull it off there. So just wind that in as tight as I can by hand now. Next step, I'm just going to torque it up properly. I've got an 1/2 inch torque wrench now, and the proper setting is 216 Newton meters plus or minus 19 Newton meters. So I'm going to set it to 200 Newton meters because that's plenty tight enough. So that's within tolerance. So, but to do it, I'm just going to do the same as we did when cracking the nut off. Basically, just got someone in the car with a foot on the brake pedal and putting it in 4th gear, and that'll lock it enough for us to nip it up. Let's go a slight bit more, Ash. Let's do 210. So that's now torqued up correctly. I decided to go a little bit more in the end. Just went to 210. So next step now, we're just going to put this put the alternator belt on first. This is the inside on the inner rib, so we'll put that on with a pulley, and then just sit the other belt on as well. Just loop them all on, and then run you through just tensioning the belts up. Right, so with these belts on now, I've just left this one loose. We can't tension this one until we've got the fan on, because obviously this pulley gets nipped up with the fan there. But we can nip this bottom one up. And what we're going to do, we're just going to use a little pry bar. I'm just going to get in that gap there. And all we need to do, just try and show you. Might not be able to quite film it very well tension it, but if you just hit in there, you can then work that across and hold it taut, and then hold it taut and then nip the bolts up. Now you want these, they don't want to be mega tight, these belts, they just want to be, let's try and get that out. Just try to show you, really, it's a bit hard to sort of explain how tight you want them, but it don't want to be mega tight. You want to be able to have a little bit of give in them, because they do bite quite well. So normally I say if you sort of work it about that sort of feel there, or a little bit taller than that. But I say if they're too loose, they'll just squeal a little bit and they're easy to adjust. So you're better off doing them not quite tight enough and then just nipping them up after if they're not right. So but all I'll do is put the tension on there, hold it and then just nip up these 2 bolts. There's a 14 and that's a 13. I'll just nip them up while the tension's on. Now that that's nipped, we'll get the viscous fan back on and the cowling now, and then we'll just run you through the alternator one after that. So now the viscous fan's nipped up, I'm just going to nip the alternator belt up. So there's obviously a lot of slack there at the minute. And all we're going to do this time is just get the bar in there, just prise against the manifold. I'm just trying to show you while holding the camera, but you just pry the alternator outwards, and then when you've got the belt roughly about the right tension you want, then you can just nip this bolt up on the back. And obviously if you've undone the 14mm at the bottom, you want to do that at the same time as well. We'll just put some load on this now and nip that up. Again, you want about the same tension on the alternator belt as what you did with the other one, so it's not mega tight, just a good nip really. So it's a good nip on the alternator belt there as well. So it was pretty slack before we did this tonight, so that wanted nipping up anyway. And then we'll just simply put the cover on put the cover over the top. But just before we do that, I'm just going to strike it up now and just have a look at the belts, just make sure they're running all right. Just before we do put this top pipe on and the header tank pipe as well. So. I just turned it off there. Normally I'd leave it running for a bit just to have a bit longer look, but just for the video I just turned it off just so you can hear us speaking again. But yeah, quite a straightforward job really. I just thought I'd share the video with you all, see if it can help someone having a go at theirs. But yeah, if you want to give it a quick like and subscribe to the channel, and just check out the links in the description below. There'll be a few more Fourtrak videos to come up as well. But yeah, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.